Historical Materialism, Chapter 3, Conclusion. Marx's discovery of the laws of social development arms the working class movement with the scientific knowledge with the aid of which it can carry its struggle against capitalism through to the victory of socialism and then build socialist society. The Marxist concept of social laws is not fatalistic, but shows how people by their own efforts can and do change society. Nor does it deny the role of individual leaders, but shows that such leaders always represent and serve the interests of classes. Historical materialism teaches that the working class today needs 1. To base its practical policy on the objective laws of social development, 2. To base its program on the real needs of the material development of society, and 3. To equip itself with revolutionary ideas, revolutionary theory. The first guiding principle of historical materialism is that change and development in society, as in nature, takes place in accordance with objective laws. What happens in society is brought about by the conscious activity of human individuals, but the outcome of this activity and the conscious motives by which it is directed are in the last analysis conditioned by the operation of laws of economic development which operate independently of the will of men. The second guiding principle of historical materialism is that social ideas arise out of the conditions of material life of society. But ideas arising from conditions of material life of society then play an active role in the development of material life. This is the third guiding principle. We have now attempted to summarize 3 guiding principles of historical materialism, resulting from the application of the materialist world outlook to social questions. What practical conclusions follow? 1. The conclusion follows that the working class today, in its struggle for emancipation, must base its practical aims and policy not on mere dreams and ideals, but on consideration of the actual social circumstances and the objective laws of social development. If we base practical aims and policy on mere dreams and ideals, however noble and inspiring, we have no guarantee that we shall ever find the way to realize them, or even that they will be capable of realization at all. The laws of social development will assert themselves against us or in spite of us, frustrating our schemes and issuing in events which take us by surprise and leave us bewildered and helpless. If, on the other hand, we base our practical activity on scientific knowledge of laws of development of society, then we can consciously utilize those laws. We can formulate practical objectives which correspond to the actual circumstances and needs of the people, and we can find how to mobilize the forces capable of actually achieving those objectives. The practical activity of the party of the proletariat must not be based on the good wishes of outstanding individuals, not on the dictates of reason, universal morals, etc., but on the laws of development of society and on the study of these laws. The party of the proletariat should not guide itself in its practical activity by casual motives, but by the laws of development of society and by practical deduction from these laws. 2. The conclusion follows that in striving to change society, we must base our program on consideration of the real conditions and needs of development of the material life of society. Only such a program can correspond to the real requirements of masses of people, and so effectively serve to mobilize the forces capable of changing society. If, on the other hand, our program consists only of ideal projects of reform, and if we suppose that we can translate abstract conceptions of reason or justice which arise in our heads into concrete reality without taking into account the actual material conditions of social life, then, however fine-sounding the program, it is divorced from real life, and those who follow it will be led into impasse. Our program, therefore, based not on the good wishes of great men, but on the real needs of development of the material life of society, must show in a practical way how people's material needs are to be satisfied. The strength and vitality of Marxism-Leninism lies in the fact that it does base its practical activity on the needs of the development of the material lives of society and never divorces itself from the real life of society. 3. The conclusion follows that in order to transform society and to build socialism, we must have socialist ideas, a revolutionary theory corresponding to the task. Historical materialism, therefore, teaches us to stress at all times the need for socialist ideas, for socialist theory. The party of the proletariat must rely upon such a social theory as correctly reflects the needs of development of the material life of society, and which is therefore capable of setting into motion broad masses of the people and of mobilizing and organizing them into a great army of the proletarian party, prepared to smash the reactionary forces and to clear the way for the advanced forces of society. If we neglect to study revolutionary theory and to develop it, if we turn our backs upon the need for advanced ideas and are content to follow our noses and rely upon the spontaneous movement of the masses, then we will never build a movement capable of changing society. If we neglect to fight for socialist ideas in opposition to capitalist ones, and to struggle to make those socialist ideas the possession of the mass movement, then we will ourselves inevitably remain the dupes of capitalist ideas, as can be verified in the case of all those socialist leaders today who think that socialist theory is of no importance. No one's head contains a vacuum. However near this state some heads may have become, and the old ideas lag on unless consciously expelled by new ones. The conclusion is, then, that knowledge of the laws of development of society, of the conditions of material life of society, and of the needs of their development becomes a great social force acting to end the old social conditions and bring in new ones. When it is developed and applied by the party of the working class, when the ideas of scientific socialism are united with the mass movement of the working class. Such, then, are the leading principles and conclusions drawn from the application of materialism to social questions. As we can see, the materialist world outlook now becomes a practical program, a fighting strategy for the working class movement.